Saturday and just reaching out to say hey. And if you are watching now, awesome. If you are, well, checking it out later, awesome indeed. So, in this crazy time, things have been getting nuts. I'm sure you have noticed that things are getting a little weird out there, a little crazy. We have stuff going on with banks. We have someone of import getting potentially arrested. We have all sorts of craziness, and just want to make sure that we're getting our house in order and that we're actually living. And what I mean by that is, without getting too religious or going down a spiritual path, we can all agree that things have been changing. They've been in flux. And when things are confusing, when people are freaking out a little bit, I talk about this a lot when it comes to how we show up in life, how our emotional state influences the decisions that we make. So when we're angry, when we're scared, when we're frustrated, when we're depressed, we are going to make very different decisions, very different choices than we would say if we were grateful or in a state of love or bliss or curiosity. So, how does that show up for you and I now when all these crazy things are happening? And look at this commercial. There was a fireplace behind me. I was trying to I think they got commercials on that. So, what we want to do is look at how are we showing up and how are we being influenced by the powers that be. Now, there's a lot of potential conversations around good and evil, and are they real? Are they being influenced? Is some of the craziness that's going down a nefarious path? Like, if we look at what's happening, it does look like things are, all the conspiracy theories could very easily be made to be sort of true, that we are heading down a path. And I'm not here to discuss conspiracy theories or anything like that, other than for you and I to recognize what is our role in our experience in life. How are we showing up? Are we living? Are we in a state of live or live? Or are we the opposite, right? We can just talk pragmatics here. The opposite of live is evil. If we look at the word, it's actually the opposite. So, without going down necessarily a pathway of is there good and evil? Is there the God and Satan? Is there all of that? Because there's all sorts of different beliefs around that. Here's the question: is the way we are living, and are we allowing things to happen? Are we resigned to certain experiences because we feel like there's nothing we can do based out of fear, resentment, anger, depression, anxiety? And then are we being led down a path because we're not willing to step up? Is our house in order? Are we doing everything we can? Are we living with integrity? Are we showing up? Are we adding the value that we deserve for ourselves and for others? How are we showing up in our business? How are we showing up in our relationships? How are we showing up in our relationship with our creator, whatever that language is for you? Now, why is this important? Well, this is the only life that we know of, that we have right now. And how are we showing up? How are we going to be remembered? The other thing is how are we teaching? How are we training our loved ones? If you have children or people you influence, loved ones, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, how we show up now, what we take a stand for now is directly influencing how they are going to make decisions. Now, I don't know about you, if you've looked back at some of your experiences in life and go, wow, I'm starting to sound like my mom, my dad, my grandparents, whatever it is. Are you running some of those patterns? And are they supporting you? And now, if you were to recognize that that is the case, how are we supporting our loved ones? How are we training them? Now, no one knows. No one's got a crystal ball as to what's going to happen moving forward with the economy, with the weather, with you name it. It is nuts out there. We can all agree that things are different now than they were as little as 3-4 years ago, pre-COVID. And everyone will maybe sometimes say, "Oh, I want things to go back the way they were." Well, I don't know. Like, there's some bonuses too. I have some friends, and there are benefits to what had happened. But now, what we have to do, we have an opportunity to celebrate what works and add what's missing. Is our house in order? Are we living with integrity? Are we living the three golden rules? Or how many golden rules there are? How many are there? I don't know. The golden rules, like, do unto those as you want to done to yourself, right? Are we living with integrity? Are we living with love? Are we leading? Or are we following? Are we willing to take a stand? Because the whole idea around, and again, it's not to be political. It's just this idea around how it's impacting us, the cancel culture and all this. There are people I know who have different opinions in closed rooms than they do in public. And that's on all levels. Isn't about politics. This is about like being vulnerable to share, oh my gosh, this happened and that effed me up, right? They'll say that in closed doors, private rooms, but when they get outside, get on Instagram, you get on Facebook, everything's great. Oh my gosh, how couldn't be more blessed, right? And while we are absolutely blessed and we live in the best opportunity in so many ways, we also need to be more honest, more integral, and live, not be the opposite of live, evil. And again, this is when whatever your language is for you, what if some of these lessons, what if some of the stories, what if these great books, what if they were there to teach us some lessons, some natural consequences? People can argue whether God and Satan, whether either are real. And you believe, I'm not here to influence what you believe. But I'd like to ask you is, how are you feeling? Are you connected to something, or do you feel empty? Are you on a pathway to find something deeper, bigger, more important, something to sustain you, to fuel you? Right? There's the verse in the Bible, man doesn't live on bread alone. And right now, if you're a practicing Catholic, you may be in the experience of Lent. And it's so funny seeing, you can tell who they are, because when they screw up, they go, Lent, right? Because they're stressed out because they're denying themselves something. And what if some of the lessons of there were about sacrifice? We talk about discipline. We talk about, are you willing to do what it takes? No pain, no gain. Are you willing to get uncomfortable for what's important to you? Are you willing to take a stand no matter what? Is your house in order? Meaning, is it with integrity? Let's see, we got a comment here. Of course, right. So I tend to only put my positive aspects of my life on Facebook, facing challenges every day, but I don't share most of them in public. Agreed. I'm not suggesting that anyone go out and go, oh, my life's miserable. This is horrible thing has happened, right? Although some people do that. What I'm saying is, and thank you for that, is to take things with a grain of salt and recognize that even though someone may be just posting the positive things that are happening, that doesn't mean that there aren't challenges. See, this is the dance, right? And I talked last time we talked about dancing, with some different perspectives. And here's another one. When do we get vulnerable? And when do we trust? Because here's the thing as well, like to that point. So everyone, if all we do is post positive stuff, and I'm a fan of that. Like, look, I'm not someone to go, oh, woe is me and play the victim role by any stretch at all. I guess what I'm saying is are you willing to take a stand and deny maybe some experiences because it violates what you believe in? Where's your line? Where's your line? I don't know if you've noticed this, but it feels like sometimes we're being kind of pushed along, nickel and diming our way to a new experience in life, a new way to show up. Are you willing to question it? And that was what we talked about last time. Are you willing to ask the question? Or have we gotten to the point where even just asking the question creates a problem? People get like all weirded out by, oh, how could you even ask that question? How dare you? What are you talking about? Yet by the same token, aren't we doing that if all we're doing is like showing the positive stuff and not appreciating that there's other stuff going on? And look, I'm not here to tell you what to do or not to do. I'm just raising the question, kind of going, well, if we want our life to change, what are we willing to change? Just food for thought. What are we willing to sacrifice? I don't know if you're during this time practicing Lent and depriving yourself of anything, doing some form of sacrifice. And again, no matter what your beliefs are, we can all agree that that adage of no pain, no gain, no risk, no reward is there. That's real. And that if we're not willing to get vulnerable, you and I, our success in life is directly proportionate to how much vulnerability we're willing to live in, to spend time in. And if we're not willing to even get uncomfortable to ask the question, is it possible we could get bulldozed into a situation? And I'll give you a great example. I don't know if you've ever been with a high-pressured salesperson where it just feels like they're just moving us along, just pushing us along and railroading us into making that purchase. And then what happens? We've got that FOMO. Not FOMO, the buyer's remorse. FOMO is fear of missing out. The buyer's remorse. And then we get it, like, oh man, wait, I didn't want to do this. I felt pressured. Has this happened anywhere else in life? Have you ever looked back and said, man, I wish I had done things differently? I wish I had said something. I wish I had asked something. I wish I had reached out. I wish I hadn't reached out. Whatever it is, there's no right or wrong. This is your experience. And then the opportunity now is just the retrospective to look back and go, how did that work out? Would I have done anything differently? Now, I don't know if you do this every year when you do your New Year's resolutions, if you do a forensic of the past year and celebrate what works and go, okay, next year, here's what I'm going to do different, or I'm going to work on this area of my life. I'm going to have a theme for the next year. What if we continue to do that on a regular basis and looked at what we're doing right now? Said, is this in alignment with my values? Do we even know what our values are? Have our values shifted? I'm sure for many of us after the COVID craziness, some of our values shifted. Some people realize like, oh my gosh, now I know what's really important. And have made some changes in our lives as to what our values are and how we can live them, how we can meet them, right? How we could live them, rather than the opposite of evil. So again, just food for thought. If this was inspiring, if it makes you think, please go ahead and comment. I'm just wanting to have a conversation around how are we showing up? Because the truth is, how you do anything is how you do everything. And if we're gonna change the world for the better, we are going to fare very well by acknowledging that wherever we are right now is a direct result of the beliefs, the decisions, the attitudes, the states, the behaviors that we've been running. And if we want something new, we're going to have to renew our mind, renew our heart, connect to that higher power, to God, Mother Nature, whatever that is for you. I'm not going to presume I know, other than to be open to the possibility of something even more and be really willing to look at what's my role in it. So with that being said, I love you for who you are and who you aren't. Go ahead to mindsetmaximizer.com. If you're feeling stressed out at all, there is a free guided hypnotic meditation, an anxiety busting guided hypnotic meditation that is designed for you to be able to relax and to get yourself centered and live presently in the moment. So God bless you. I look forward to connecting even more. Please, by all means, reach out, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the like button, all those cool things that these kids are doing today. These kids. So I love you.